Am I the arsehole? For not moving from a spot someone wanted to propose on? One of my hobbies is to go hiking and eat a very large meal while sitting down. Basically a picnic for myself. I bring a blanket and anything else I might need for an hour-long experience. This past Monday I was up at a new area I'd never been to. I brought my large meal with me and set up on a very gorgeous area with a great view of the lake. I was about 5 minutes into my ritual when this guy with a camera comes and tells me that a couple was coming up to do a proposal on this very spot and asked me to move. I told him no, that I barely got set up and I was in the middle of my meal. He gets annoyed and just asks again, but I tell him now. A few minutes later the photographer returns with the guy who was going to propose. The guy proposing asks me this time and I just tell him no, that he can wait. He asks me WTF is wrong with me and I just tell him that I am eating my meal. He starts telling at me to GTFO, but I put on my headphones and just continue eating. After a while he leaves me alone. After I felt satisfied from the meal I packed up and was heading down. The three were waiting at another spot and the men point me out and the lady starts yelling at me that I ruined her day and that the proposal happened elsewhere instead of the spot I was in. I just smiled and said congrats on your proposal and kept walking. When I got back home this came up and I told my boyfriend about it. He straight up said it was an asshole thing to do. Info: were you blocking the only scenic overlook in the area with your picnic, or was there generally beautiful views all around? Like if some average hikers had come up and wanted to experience the best view on the trail, would they have been able to with the placement of your blanket? ESH, they had no right to demand that you move. But it wouldn't have killed you to move. The way you wrote it, it sounds like you were being petty about it. You're the asshole. I hike regularly, and anybody who smugly takes up a large amount of space at a viewpoint for an hour is an not sorry. Basic hiking etiquette. You're the asshole. Good hikers share views and make space for people if it's not a major disruption. You could have made a small exception this once for a special occasion, but you refused because of a pretty silly and selfish principle. You're the asshole. That is literally an asshole thing to do. You're an asshole. You're not very nice, are you? Technically, are you wrong? No. Do you still qualify as an asshole? Yes. This day meant nothing to you and you easily could have moved somewhere else. You probably could have gotten the photographer to help you move your stuff. You clearly felt entitled to the space and are low-key getting off on ruining someone's proposal. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. It wasn't a big ask and hardly a big inconvenience. It's called consideration and understanding. You come across as sounding like the most important player. You're the asshole. You sound like an incredibly unpleasant person. You're the asshole. I get it, you were there first. Of course you had a right to the spot. But it feels pretty extreme to be prepared to ruin someone's proposal plans over it. Info. How was the area? Could they have done it near you? And taken pics without you in? You're the asshole. You barely got set up, so why not move? This was a regular day for you, however this wasn't a regular day for the couple. Instead of trying to be a stick in the mud all the time, try thinking about other people. You're the asshole. Would it have killed you to move for their proposal? It takes no effort to be nice, crying face. I was urging towards not the asshole in that it's public space and usable by everyone, and you were there first. But the tone of the way you're explaining it once I felt satisfied tells me you felt this as some kind of power play and you were likely utilizing a highly desirable spot just for you, and you knew that, so I think that makes you equally if not more selfish than someone asking to clear the spot for what is likely going to be a short photo shoot when compared to the length of time it takes you to eat a large meal. The tongue-in-cheek response you gave them cements this, too. You're the asshole. You're the asshole. You could have just moved for a few minutes. You're the asshole. The way you told your story so smugly tells me you relish the grief you caused the other party and that you came here looking for validation. You fully expected people to pat you on the ass for exposing a main character. How on earth would the lady know about it? Did the guy propose and then say, oh by the way, I was going to do this over there but someone was having a picnic? I'm a bit confused. You're the arsehole as your post reeks of smugness. You're the arsehole. Your terrible attitude is one of the things wrong with society today. Now, if it was a couple having a picnic and wanted your spot, I'd say that you got there first and therefore shouldn't have to move, because their picnic or you ritual hold a similar amount of value, but this was a huge moment in these people's lives and that has to be taken into account. How hard would it have been to move over a bit and let them do things the way they intended? Also, it sounds like you enjoyed their disappointment. You're a very miserable person. Oh, the asshole. You're the asshole. A big one at that. No one can force you to move, but that doesn't make you any less of an a-hole. You're the asshole. You ruined a once-in-a-lifetime event in a couple's life because you wanted to be selfish about a minor inconvenience. I like to eat a very large meal while sitting down. Come on, you've got to be kidding. You know you're the asshole. Maybe if you were having a family picnic in a special spot it would make more sense. But for you to sit on your butt stuffing your face and ruin a special occasion for others is hilariously selfish. This must be trolling. The emphasis on the size of the meal made me hate you in the first sentence. Massive asshole. This is a funny you're the asshole. You sound like you get your kicks being difficult. You're the asshole. What you did was petty. It makes you seem like a small, sad little person. Public space, you have no need to move. Morally you are a dick. You could have moved for some snaps of a photo them sat back down. You're the asshole. Of course you weren't legally required to move, but come on, show some kindness. Don't make everything around you and your very large meal. It wouldn't have hurt you to make space for them and find another spot. I'm sure they would have helped you to move. ESH. The photographer and guy who wanted to propose should have respected your decision after asking. The woman screaming you ruined my day sucks for focusing on the wrong thing, the proposal instead of the spot. You, because while technically in the right based on the first come, first serve mentality, are just unlikable. Question: how far are you hiking with this large lunch basket to eat an hour-long meal and then head back? ESH. Up for not wanting to do someone a kindness and either move or eat a bit faster. The couple for being rude entitled folk who should have planned better to grab the popular spot for a special moment. And up, when your own BF is calling you the R. Time to reflect on yourself. MEAL. You're the asshole and I feel like this is a fake or embellished story. ESH. Neither of you is entitled to the space for solo usage. Boyfriend should have planned for the potential that others would be there and either been okay with it or had a backup spot in mind. You could have hurried or moved over to the side. ESH. I don't think your picnic or his proposal were that important enough to get into a petty feud over. ESH. Why does everyone in this story feel like they're entitled to exclusive use of a public space? And op, do you feel better that you went out of your way to be a dick about it? It's pretty clear that the feeling of satisfaction came mainly out of putting someone else out, rather than enjoying a meal. Everyone is an here. People who plan elaborate proposals with a photographer and people who refuse to do someone else a solid for something important to them. Did you have to move? No. Would it have been the kind thing to do? Yes. That's why you're the asshole. So much of an asshole it's unbelievable. You could not share a space for someone else's huge life event. You suck. This shows how selfish of a human you are. You suck beyond belief. It's you, hi, you're the asshole. Yeah, you're definitely the asshole. Would have been different if they had immediate come in hot with GTFO. But sounds like they asked pretty politely first. People just have no consideration for others anymore. You're the asshole. This is selfish, narcissistic behavior.
Am I the asshole? For refusing to share my half of the inheritance money with my nibblings? My sister and I recently lost our last remaining parent. We are both devastated. But regardless, the logistics all need to be worked out. Our parents were very clear in their will that our inheritance and all property are split evenly between the two of us. It's to the tune of around $1 million. Here's where the problems start. I'm gay. I live with my partner who I'm not married to across the country from the rest of my family. My sister and her husband have 3 small kids under 11. My sister said that since it's highly unlikely I'll ever have kids, which still remains to be seen. I haven't decided that yet, and because I live a comfortable life currently, that I should take at least a quarter of my inheritance money and open bank accounts for her kids. Instead of using her own money to do that, she wants to buy a McMansion to get out of their smaller cramped house. Basically implying that her and her family need the money more than I do since they're married with kids and I'm not. She thinks my parents were unfair when they created the will and that I should do the right thing to make up for their mistake. Our entire family is split on the issue. My bill is obviously on my sister's side and says I'm being greedy and don't care about my nibblings. Future. Our aunts and uncles and cousins all have differing opinions, with the more homophobic side of the family saying I'm being a greedy asshole. This is causing a major rift, and I'm worried that eventually she'll cut me off and won't let me have a relationship with the kids anymore. Part of me thinks maybe they do need the money more than me. Maybe I should just let the money go. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole. If our parents wanted you to have more than half, they'd have left you more than half. That's all you need to say. And repeat as necessary. You owe no further explanation. Not the asshole coming from someone with 3 kids and a brother with 0. Your sister's kids are her and Bill's responsibility. No one forced them to have kids, and they are the greedy ones trying to get more money. Not the asshole. Your parents decided to split their estate evenly. What you and your sister decide to do with your halves is completely up to you. I wouldn't give 1 penny to sis or her kids. Not the asshole. Let's say you and the partner already had adopted 4 kids. Would she be giving part of her inheritance to you because you have more kids? I doubt it. Not the asshole. Just like you might make the choice not to have kids, she made the choice to start a family knowing that children are financially draining. She shouldn't be awarded extra money for choosing to live a more expensive life than yourself. Sil seems very entitled, and I hope you keep that half for yourself instead of enabling her entitlement and making her believe she's in the right. Wow. Your sister is awfully presumptuous with your money. Not the asshole. Do you not see more than a little underlying homophobia in what she's proposing? Would she say the same if you were a straight man or a straight woman? Highly unlikely is my guess. Plus, as you point out, you may actually want to have kids someday. Don't give in to bullying. Which is what she's doing, as well as the other homophobic ahs in your family. Not the asshole. You sister absolutely does not get to decide how you spend your half of the inheritance. It's up to you. Money doesn't have to be used to further future generations. And you aren't less deserving of the money because you do not yet have children. There are many other things the money could be put towards. She doesn't even want to use her money for her children specifically. She wants to purchase a bigger house. You can say no and still decide you want to privately put it in a trust for them to access when they are 18 to be used for schooling. Or whatever you like. If you like. Not the asshole. Just tell them you'll put your nibblings in your will, so their future will be secured. Not the asshole. You have just as much right to your whole share as she does. What you do with it is none of her business. I'm sure she and her family can survive on $500,000. And even if she gives $83,000 to each of her kids from her share what she was planning on taking from you, then only having $250,000 left over is hardly going to leave her destitute. If your parents wanted her to have more than half, they would have made the will that way. They have no right to expect you to split your share just because you don't have children. How is she not content with $500,000? Not the asshole. It's your money. You didn't fuck those kids into existence. I'm guessing your sister has probably bullied you your entire life and you've normalized it. If you're looking at this situation and saying maybe I'm the one in the wrong. Not the asshole, and I'm confused as to why I'm seeing more posts about people who think their family members that don't have children should pay for their choice to have children. Your sister and her husband can take care of their children. Your parents did exactly what they wanted to with their money. Not the asshole. You are not the parent of those kids. She is. She is the one who needs to provide for them. Not you. You might want to set aside some money for them. But if you do not tell her. Not the asshole. Please do not accommodate your greedy sister. If your parents felt that she needed more than you, they would have altered their will accordingly. Not the asshole. Tell your sister to stop breeding if they can't afford it. Not the asshole, and your sister is a greedy something or another. You don't owe her or her progeny anything. If your parents felt those kids needed the money, they would have left it to them. Don't let your sister guilt or manipulate you into doing something. And honestly, as a gay man to another, fuck your family. Man. Your parents did with their will what they wanted, and anyone trying to make an issue on anything about it doesn't need to be in your life. You know family isn't always who you are related to. Time to cull the herd. Not the asshole. She got enough money to open accounts for her children. You don't owe them anything. Enjoy your money. Not the asshole. She's being so greedy. She should buy a larger house but not a mansion and put the rest away for the kids. Not the asshole. You both deserve your share separately. Go for it and stay strong. Not the asshole. Your sibling just got $500,000. They are now being greedy. Also, the will already kind of includes the kids. Because if the will was split to include grandchildren, it would be 25 to your sister. 25 split evenly between her children. 25 for you and 25 for any children you produce. And having produced no children, that 25 would go back to you. They are just being greedy and don't want to set up trusts for their own children. Not the asshole. Nowhere near an That space is solely reserved for your sister. Your parents decided how they wanted to divide their assets. Honor their wishes. Your sister can buy a larger, less expensive home and use the remaining money to open accounts for her children. Or not. No matter. Funding offspring she chose to have is not your duty. Her and your bill need to readjust their priorities. That's what your parent wanted. You're still their child who they're providing for. It's a massive amount of money each side, so they should be responsible parents and do it themselves. Not the asshole. Your parents knew what they were doing when they made the will. She doesn't need the money more. She wants money. I wouldn't give her 1 cent because of how she's behaving and dragging in family. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if she and your bill won't be satisfied until they get every last cent of the inheritance. You will never be an for using your fair share of the inheritance as you wish. If you want to make your nibblings your beneficiaries, great. But even then, you wouldn't be an if you didn't. Ultimately, it's your money to spend or invest however you want. Your sister is being greedy, wanting her McMansion and your inheritance too. Not the asshole. Lol, not the asshole. Fuck that. If you don't want her choice to have kids isn't your financial burden. Am I the asshole? For not forcing my nephew of whom I have custody to visit his mother? I have custody of my stepsister Gia's son, Arthur. And I have since he was 6. Gia was going through a very tough time, having split up with Arthur's father shortly after having her second child, who was born with a severe disability. And she was struggled mentally and practically, which meant Arthur's care was falling by the wayside. Our parents stepped in and we all agreed that my husband and I would take custody of him. It was meant to be temporary. But after a year, Gia formally signed over her rights, and my husband, Arthur, my daughter, and I moved abroad. 1.5-hour flight from Gia. Arthur visits his mother in school holidays, and Gia comes out to visit us in the summer and at Christmas. Gia has worked very hard to rebuild her life and now has a fiancé and a third child. Over the past year, Arthur has been putting up more of a fight about going to visit Gia. He says he wants to see his friends during holidays and do more sports. He competes in go-karting. He also says he doesn't like going to Gia's because he doesn't have his own space there. Has much less freedom. Doesn't like the food, activities, etc. I do understand, but at the same time I've always said it's important that he sees his mother. This came up again when I was making plans for half-term and Arthur asked if he could skip his trip to see his mother. He said going to Gia's place just feels like he's being punished for not being our bio child. He said he just wants to stay home like his sister, my daughter. This absolutely broke my heart. I love Arthur just the same as I love my daughter, and the thought he would feel singled out in any way she tore me to pieces. I talked it over with my husband and we decided that we wouldn't force Arthur to go. Gia is furious. She called me all sorts of horrible things. Accused me of pressuring her to give up custody of Arthur. This didn't happen, and stealing her baby again. Not true. She berated me for letting him call me mom. For turning our parents against her. For turning her son into a spoilt brat who looks down on her. Eventually she said if I didn't make him come and visit she would sue me for custody of him. I've spoken to a lawyer who says there is next to no chance that a judge would give custody back to Gia. The parents' mother and Gia's father think I should retain custody of Arthur, but that I should still make sure he is visiting Gia, at least for the next couple of years, as he is too young to realize the impact not having any bond with her will be, and he can decide that when he's older. My husband and I are just trying to do right by Arthur. I don't want him feeling like we don't take his opinion into account. But at the same time I don't want to put him through the stress of a legal battle over all this. And I believe Gia when she said she'll start suing for custody, even if she won't win. So am I the asshole for not making him go? Not the asshole. She signed over her rights, so that will be impossible for her to regain custody. He's basically a teenager and he sees things over at his mom's that he doesn't like. He doesn't have his own space. He probably feels like an outsider, etc. Sit him down and have a serious talk with him. Ask him why. What happens when he goes over there, etc. Get him to go in detail. If doesn't want to go, don't make him. It's up to his mother to fix her bond with your nephew, not him. He's a child. The thing that jumps out at me is he so clearly sees himself as yours. He doesn't want to be sent away. It makes him feel like he isn't your child. I can't imagine how hard that would be. You so clearly love him. I know this isn't useful advice, but congratulations on raising him in such a way that he knows he's yours. I think his needs and wants come above bio mom. You need to listen to what he's saying to you. That's putting his interests first. Family therapy or individual therapy if you think it could be useful. Sending hugs to you all. Not the asshole. She went and had another kid during the 6 years Arthur's lived with you. I'm sorry Gia was struggling when he was younger, but she was somehow still able to go live a life without him. It also doesn't sound like she's made room for him in her current home. That's not fair to Arthur. Not the asshole. He's your kid now. You are his mom. Yes. Gia might have had her reasons for not being able to care for him before, but if she wants to maintain some relationship with him, she's going to have to be the one making the effort. Ultimately, though, it's his choice on whether he wants any relationship with his biological mother. He can't be forced into it. P.S. Kids tell you exactly what they want and what they're not comfortable with. Maybe try listening and talking to him about the why. It's important you support it. No matter how silly it may seem to you, it's important to him. Not the asshole, but 12 yo is the threshold for kids sliding into their friends' and own life. They no longer just do as they're told. Going to need to find a compromise. This won't get easier. Y'all need to seek a family therapist. You need to 100 follow whatever that little dude wishes are. He's been jerked around enough by having such a fractured situation. Following whatever he wishes is really the only way to allow him to heal. Verbally support him. Tell him repeatedly there are no wrong decisions. That's very important. That's coming from someone that went through similar. Not the asshole. Tell her to get off her ass and come visit her kid. If Arthur doesn't want to go see her for the reasons listed, it would make sense for her to take a trip or two and inconvenience herself for once. Can you imagine how awkward it will be if you force him to go there now? Not the asshole. After the threat of suing for custody, I wouldn't feel comfortable letting Arthur visit alone. What if she refused to send him back? Not the asshole. I saw your replies. You're replying as a devil advocate in all of them. It's clear that you have the best interest of all parties. But someone will get hurt from this. And I'd rather the kid not being that someone. I think the best solution is for Arthur to talk to Gia via a phone or video call. Let them discuss this, with you as a moderator. All of Arthur's reasoning for why he doesn't want to go meet Gia is valid. Let her hear it from Arthur straight. There needs to be a video call. Given the distance with the adults of both households and Arthur, the communication needs to be crystal clear as to why he is choosing not to go. It would be hard and devastating to your relationship with Arthur to force this issue. That said, bringing everything to light calmly and honestly could start the process for change. She relinquished her parental rights, which means he's your son in every sense of the word. Meanwhile, let her come to him in his space. Give Arthur a chance to work though some of his feelings, not the asshole, as he is too young to realize the impact not having any bond with her. Well, he is old enough to realize his mom chose to give him away on the pretense she can't take care of him. Yet she can take care of her younger than him child. Put that on top of feeling singled out if forced to go to her. Stick with the decision your family of 4 made. I get that it won't be easy or very kind to your sister. But choices and decisions have consequences. Your child is more important than your stepsister. Not the asshole. Okay, so after finding out he doesn't have his own room or guest room to retreat in, that his bio mom is a full-time caregiver for a child, is it any wonder he doesn't want to go? Also, he may be pissed at his bio mom for giving him up and then starting a whole new family. I know I might be salty about that. I wouldn't make him go, but I would put him in therapy. I would also let his make video calls to Gia whenever he wants. Not the asshole. Gia can come visit Arthur where he feels comfortable. Isn't that most important? Gia? Arthur is the priority.
Am I the asshole for refusing to attend my best friend's destination wedding? My best friend and I have been incredible friends for over a decade. She was a bridesmaid in my wedding and put a lot of time, energy, and money into throwing showers, bachelorette parties, etc. Well, now she is engaged and is planning a destination wedding. Accommodations and all meals will be paid for. She stated that she does not want any showers, parties, or even gifts because she'd rather people put that towards the plane ticket. Tickets are about $700, $1300 round trip depending on the airline. It's a very small wedding of about 20 people, and we'd all be staying together on a large property for a week. I am saving to purchase a home in a few years and told my friend that I wouldn't make her wedding, citing 2 reasons. 1. Finances. 2. The fact that my husband can't attend. I brought these issues up to her and told her I wouldn't make it. She and my other best friend who is also attending said they would help in any way they could with the financial part of it. She said that the reason my husband was not invited was because of space. I'd be sharing a room with that other best friend and the fact that she doesn't know him well. Her fiancé has never met him, and everyone else that will be there is close family. She said even many close family members were not invited because of how small they had to keep it. She sent me a relatively upset message, saying that she was disappointed in my decision because she felt she did everything she could to help money-wise facilitate my attendance, but that I was unwilling to help find a solution. Am I the asshole for saying no to attending my best friend's wedding? While it's nice that accommodations and meals are paid for, I'd still have to find a dress and cover other various expenses along the way. Info. Resolve these statements. Incredible friends for over a decade. She was a bridesmaid in my wedding. With. The reason my husband was not invited was because she doesn't know him well. Why doesn't your incredible friend of over a decade who was in your wedding know your husband very well? You're the asshole. I was initially going to go the other way because destination weddings are often selfish, pay your own way setups. But I think you're the selfish one here. They didn't invite close family so you could have a spot, are paying for everything over there and are offering financial help with your ticket, and you're whining about a dress, after this friend dropped everything to be a bridesmaid at your wedding. You need to figure out what feelings are lying underneath this, because I see some jealousy peeking through. You're the asshole. I question how good a friend this person is if you're this adamant about not attending her wedding. The big expenses are being taken care of for you. A dress doesn't have to be at all expensive. That's you making an excuse. Your friend has done a lot for you. You seem to be willing to do zero. Find a way out of this altogether. Fine, in that it is your choice, but would I consider you a good friend? Probably not. This is such an obvious you're the asshole that I can only assume it's the best friend writing from her crappy friend's POV. Your best friend put significant time, energy and money into your wedding, and you can't be bothered to do a tiny fraction of the same for her. If you're still interested in having a best friend, you need to get over yourself and show up at this wedding. And just to add, it's totally reasonable that your spouse isn't invited to a 20-person wedding. They are probably excluding many people much closer to them than your spouse. Deal with it. You're the asshole. You accepted that she do so much for yours, now you won't do the comparable for her? BC, your husband can't go? I mean, even the financial aspect isn't fair if you accepted it and she is taking care of the most significant costs. Like I would do so much to be at my best friend's wedding. And I have. It's crazy to me that a tiny amount towards a house is your reason. It's not an amount delaying by much at all. You're the asshole. While you can choose what you spend your money on, it honestly seems like you're grasping at straws for reasons not to go. They said they would help with money and that they only want you there. You must not care for your friend very much, because I would be devastated if I were the bride, having been there and done so much for you and getting absolutely nothing in return, not even your presence. You're the asshole. You don't want to go to her wedding when she did so much for yours. You can go without your husband is not you, and you can do things without him. Why don't you want to spend some money on your best friend's wedding? Does she mean that little to you? You're the asshole if you consider this your best friend. Why does it matter that your husband isn't there? You aren't attached at the hip, right? Aren't you allowed to do things on your own? If you are financially unable to make the trip, you're not obligated to go into debt. However, citing financial reason when you're able to pay for it and are even helped out financially, will communicate to your friend that you don't consider her the same as she does you. You're the asshole. You're just making up excuses at this point. She's trying everything to help you out, but you just don't want to go. She's a good friend and deserves better. Info: what are you doing for your best friend to celebrate the wedding since you won't be attending? Not the asshole. I love my friends, but I am absolutely not using up a whole week's leave to attend a destination wedding where I can't bring my husband. We work our asses off to save our leave and cash for while I would want to see my best friend married. Holidays spent away from home are a luxury. They are a luxury both my husband and I like to experience together. Also, I always find it weird, no matter the reasoning, that people exclude someone's spouse from an invite. Couples are just that, a couple. You're the asshole. It's very uncommon for your meals and accommodations to be paid for. It does stink that your husband can't go, but it seems like you have another best friend that's gonna be traveling with you. Not the asshole. A lot of people are jumping to call OP the a-hole, but something clearly off with this post. $700, $1,300 may not seem like a lot, but we have no idea her financial situation. If she's working retail or living paycheck to paycheck, this is a big expense. Not only this, but you have to get a dress, worry about hair, makeup, and the biggest thing that nobody is talking about. It's a destination wedding for an entire week. Getting paid time off PTO is incredibly difficult, and OP may want to use what little PTO she has with her husband. Though I usually side on the OP on situations like this, today I do think you're the asshole. It sounds like you aren't willing to put in the hard yards on this one. You're the asshole. So she put all this time, money, effort into your wedding because you're incredible friends. Now you're throwing a fit refusing to go because your husband, that she does not know, does not have space for, isn't invited. Wow. I hope she drops you as a friend. I am going to ignore the financial aspect, because she offered to help you any way she could financially. There is family not going, because it's so small she wants you there. Not the asshole. She clearly missed the point of all your wedding festivities that she helped with, since she's now acting like you, your husband, are not a package deal. No point in attending the wedding of someone so disrespectful of the institution of marriage. Not the asshole. Vacation time and money is limited. Most people don't want to blow it on a vacation without their spouse. Not the asshole. You can never expect someone to go to a destination wedding, especially not for a week, and especially not expecting them not to bring their spouse. Not the asshole. If someone wants a very small event that excludes spouses, that's a one-day event, somewhere local, and you go home to your spouse at the end of the day. No one gets to demand you travel away from your spouse for a week, share a room with someone instead of having any privacy, and then get all hurt if you pass on that. She is essentially denying that your life is real and demanding you choose her wedding fantasy over that real life. Surprised by all the YT votes. I wouldn't go to a wedding where my wife and kids weren't invited. Especially, if it was going to eat a week of vacation time. When someone decides to have a week-spanning destination wedding and aren't inviting SOs, then they can't be mad when even good friends decide not to attend. Not the asshole. You're the asshole. This might get downvoted, but after your friend spent lots on your wedding, I think it's a reasonable request from her. Going against the grain here, it seems. Not the asshole. Destination weddings are expensive, take a lot of time, and can be extremely stressful. No one should be guilted into a destination wedding. I am so sick of people choosing to travel and then getting pissy when others can't or don't want to.
Am I the asshole for leaving menstrual pads in a visible place in the bathroom? My husband, his friend, and I are currently on vacation, sharing a rented apartment with just one bathroom. Yesterday, I got my period and bought some pads. I left them on the bathroom counter in a semi-sheer bag, where they weren't even visible. However, my husband thought this was inappropriate and could make his friend uncomfortable, knowing that someone in the apartment is bleeding. I argued that menstruation is a natural process and should not be considered gross or dirty. Women shouldn't be shamed or stigmatized because of it, as this has historically caused women to suffer. My husband didn't respond, but I'm still wondering if I was in the wrong for leaving the pads this way. Edit: can we get any feedback from males? My husband says all responses are from females. And that's why I was voted not the asshole. Verified man here. You must be joking. He was upset that there were unopened feminine hygiene products on the counter? I think your husband is a 12-year-old boy in disguise. Not the asshole. Maybe if you left used pads unwrapped on the counter, that would be an issue. But menstrual supplies are just a normal part of human existence and your husband needs to get over it. Not the asshole for the exact reasons you stated. If it makes his friend uncomfortable, I would be very surprised and concerned. Does toilet paper make him uncomfortable? Knowing that someone in the apartment is pooping? Tears of joy. It's just a natural bodily process. If a 30-year-old is made uncomfortable by the idea of being around a woman on her period, that's kind of a him problem, not a you one. Not the asshole. I, a man, carry them in my bag as part of my first aid kit because one time there was an emergency and my so needed one and didn't have one. So if that ever happens again I will be ready. Edit. Your edit is pretty sad. And very telling that he had a pretty uneducated and misogynistic upbringing. TBH, I had a pretty conservative upbringing and zero education about the matter. But any rational and mature person should learn to adapt. Hopefully he can use this as an opportunity to reconsider his views. What if he ever has a daughter? My husband thought this was inappropriate and could make his friend uncomfortable, knowing that someone in the apartment is bleeding. Not the asshole. Your husband is, though. At any given time, approximately 20-25 of all the women on Earth of childbearing age are menstruating. It's possible that one of those women might be in close proximity to your husband and his friend. Does your husband seriously think his friend can't handle that idea? Anyone who has such weird notions about menstruation should not be allowed anywhere near a vagina until they grow up. That edit is major red flags. Your edit makes your husband look even worse. Only the opinions of other men matter? Okay. Edit to add not the asshole. Guy. Not the asshole. WTF? Not the asshole. You're not smacking a used pad across his friend's forehead. Menstruation is normal. Freaking out over sealed unused pads on a bathroom counter is not normal. Not the asshole. From the title, I assumed used. From reading, they are literally clean and unopened. Your husband and his friend can grow the fuck up. Does he hide unused band-aids, too? Not the asshole. Guy here. It's stupid and juvenile to be uncomfortable around someone who's menstruating. Grow up, guys. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Husband has some issues. Does he get embarrassed if you leave tissues out because someone in the house has mucus? Not the asshole. Anyone living with a menstruating woman should accept the fact that yes, in fact, sometimes you will be on your period and have menstrual products within reach. If he had a cold and you made him hide all the tissues in the house, I am sure it would annoy him too. Lol. Male here. Responding to the edit. Grow up. Husband man. Women shouldn't be made to hide or feel shame for a bodily function they can't control. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. We are women. We bleed. It happens. Get over it. It's just the way our bodies work. Any man who cannot deal with the simple biological truth is too immature to be in a relationship with a woman. Misogynists are always the assholes. Not the asshole. It's actually your husband who has the issue, not his mate. You have realized that, I hope. For me, that's a real worry for whatever other archaic notions he has about women. Why are men so up their asses about women on their period? Blood comes from the vagina, a place men like to spend time in 3 weeks out of the month. 1 week we bleed out of that same place, and all of a sudden we should hide in a shed in a field. Because it's gross and dirty? Not the asshole. These are unused pads. However, my husband thought this was inappropriate and could make his friend uncomfortable, knowing that someone in the apartment is bleeding. Has his friend said anything, or is this just pure speculation from your husband? Man here. Husband is ta. You're not the asshole. Do we care if there are men out there who are made uncomfortable by menstrual products? No, we do not. Do we care if men are made uncomfortable by the sight of women breastfeeding their babies? No, we do not. Do we care if misogynists are creeped out by normal female activities? No, we do not. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. It's 2023. Not the Dark Ages. Menstruation is as natural as breathing. If his friend can't handle the sight of a pad, he needs to grow up. Not the asshole. A man isn't going to melt if he sees a packet of pads. Dude here. Honestly couldn't care less, and my girlfriend keeps some in the bathroom along with tampons and liners. All visible. To me they are typical bathroom items. I liken them to toilet paper or tissues. Sounds like your husband needs to change his perspective. It's a natural process that isn't going to disappear for a long time. He should be supportive given the difficulties that come alongside it. My girlfriend gets bad period pain. I couldn't imagine watching her suffer and saying your period makes me uncomfortable. Not the asshole. If he persists, ask him to hide his undergarments cause they make you uncomfortable. Not the asshole. My GF has tampons in the master bath, the guest bath, her laptop bag, her backpack, and in the door pockets and the glove compartment of her car. It's good to have in reach. And if someone still gets uncomfortable about the idea of a period when they're 30, that's entirely their problem. Even the edit makes your husband sound like an asshole. Jesus Christ, it's a fucking period. It's not like shat on the counter. Not the asshole. Your husband needs to grow up. I am a single guy living on my own, and even I have menstrual pads and tampons in both my bathrooms. Visible for everyone to see and for everybody to use. You never know when it comes, and people are not always prepared. Then it is great that they can grab what they need and don't have to be grossed out or ashamed. I also always have tampons in my backpack. Nothing is more annoying than going out with friends and someone noticed she got her period but doesn't have anything with her. Something like that is for that person a mood killer. Always happy to help provide. Only happened a couple of times. Not the asshole. I hope you got a discount for traveling with 2 children. Info is the 30 against your husband and his friend in years or months. Get a grip, you too. Male here. Your husband is still a prepubescent child. I imagine he is also too weak as piss to go the shops and buy you some. Tell him a real man told him to grow the fuck up. Periods are a natural part of living live with it.
Am I the asshole for making my younger son and his family sleep in the living room? I have 2 adult sons who are both married and have kids of their own. My wife has Alzheimer's disease and therefore I need help. I can afford to get a nurse for her, but I don't feel right about having a stranger at my home, so my oldest son and his 2 children moved in so that he could help me. We gave my oldest son's room to him, my youngest son's bedroom to my grandson, and our guest room to my granddaughter. This however means that whenever my youngest son visits they have to sleep in the living room. He recently complained that it's not fair that they all have to sleep in the living room while my oldest son and his kids get rooms. He asked me to make my grandson and granddaughter share so that he and his family can have a room. I told him, you know what else is not fair? The fact that your brother is the only one helping out while you do nothing. They live with us, therefore they get bedrooms. You are just a guest, so you should be grateful for anything you get. He thinks I'm an asshole. Not the asshole. Your oldest son and family are doing a real service to you and your wife, and you in turn are providing the necessary space for them to live with you. Can't believe the younger son is even having an issue with this. He can find somewhere else to stay when he visits if he doesn't like what you're offering. I think your son is out of order, so not the asshole. But unsolicited advice: get some help outside the family. I cared for my sick mother and I'm still getting over it almost 10 years after her death. It was a labor of love, but my mental health has been damaged by the experience. Not the asshole. All the rooms are taken by permanent residents. If they want to visit they have to take what's available or get a motel nearby. Now, if they were moving in permanently some rearranging could be done, but in this case they should be happy with what they're given. Whether or not they're helping with your wife is not the most relevant thing to me though. While it's amazing that your oldest son has stepped up to the plate to help you, I don't think it's something that could have been automatically expected, and your younger son being unable to help doesn't make him a bad person. Not what you asked, but your paranoia about having a stranger at my home is creating a huge disruption in the lives of both your sons. It's grossly unfair to put so much responsibility onto your children, simply because of an ungrounded fear on your part. You are preventing your younger son and his family from living a full life, simply because of your own fear. Consider getting yourself some therapy, so that you can accept the normal situation of having home nursing help, and release your younger son and his family from the obligation they have felt compelled to take on. Not the asshole. Not the asshole, but you need to get over that no strangers in my house nonsense. At some point, as the disease progresses, you won't be able to provide proper care for her. Plus, you're going to burn out. Your model isn't sustainable long term. Info. Is your youngest son actually doing nothing, or is he just not completely subsuming his life to your and your wife's needs? Not the asshole. He can get a hotel room for his family next time. Not the asshole, and what a ridiculous request on his part. Nah, I don't think it is unreasonable for the older son's kids to squeeze together temporarily so younger son's entire family can squeeze into a room together for some sort of privacy. If you refuse to compromise, they will just stop showing up. All you are doing is pushing your younger son away. Info. Where did your sons live when asked for help? Editor. Your son stay with you when he visits. Which means he doesn't live nearby. You expected him to drop his life and move his family to come help. That's not fair. You are R2 for putting your grandchildren through watching day by day their grandma disappeared right before their eyes. Plus she could have a violent outburst and you rather that happen around your grandchildren because it's free. Pay someone instead of traumatizing your grandchildren. Your son also R for putting his kids through this. You're the asshole. Your wife needs an actual nurse. Crowding both of your sons' families into where they are sleeping in the living room is absurd. You're the asshole. So much. The rooms are irrelevant. Your comment about your son not helping is disgusting and you should be ashamed of yourself. He doesn't owe you help. It is your job to take care of him, not the other way around. I just can't even imagine what kind of completely worthless father would say something like that to his child. Not the asshole. Your comment was spot on, and I'm sorry your youngest son is a jerk, although pleased that he does visit. The living room is cheaper than a motel, and that's always an option. You're the asshole for not getting professional help when it's clearly needed. You're the only causing suffering for everyone. Not the asshole. He seems very entitled. You're the asshole for not hiring help and putting the son living with you in the position he is in. I think you're the asshole. Maybe your son would help more if you gave him a comfortable place to stay. You're treating him differently and favoring your other son. And you shouldn't be so resentful he can't quit his job to help you. So now you're punishing him because what he has to offer isn't good enough for you. Not the asshole. There's really nothing more to add, other than stick to your guns. Not the asshole. Maybe all of the kids could have a slumber party in the living room and your youngest son and his wife could sleep in one of the grandchildren's bedrooms when they are visiting. Not the asshole. Your older son and his family are permanent residents of your home whereas your youngest son are visitors. This is a big difference. There is no reason for the permanent residents who contribute to the household should have to be kicked out of their spaces when someone visits. Most especially when those residents are there to help with their grandmother with her Alzheimer's. Let your younger son be angry. You've probably solved your problem, because he's unlikely to visit much after you've been clear he's not welcome. People can shift for a few days when guests come. That's pretty basic hospitality. Clearly he doesn't live locally, so he can't do much to help on a regular basis. Now you're going to interfere with your wife's ability to see her son by making him feel unwelcome. You're the asshole. Not the asshole. It's your house and you can do with it as you please. You are 100% correct that he no longer lives there and the other three do. How often does he visit? A few times a year? He could always get an Airbnb or a hotel. I think that is very thoughtful of you to give your one adult son and his children their own space because they're there helping you and your wife. Not the asshole. There's a solution to this. It's called a hotel. Or possibly an Airbnb. You're the asshole because you didn't want a stranger in your room. So you're making your other son sleep in the living room with the children instead of breaking up the rooms of the two other grandchildren to go to adults and have a sleepover in the living room with the kids. I understand your point, but would it be impossible for the two kids who live with you to double up when their uncle visits? It seems kind of odd that you'd have 3 bedrooms with only one person and his family bunking in the living room. They live there, they get rooms. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Well, it looks like you did a good job with one of them. The nerve of your younger son to think that your brother moving in with you and his sick mother and you have equal needs in your home. Your response is full on, and if your youngest doesn't see the equity, he is the one without empathy, sense of fairness or able to read a situation. You're the asshole. Children are not required to care for their parents. 1. 2. Instead of hiring home help which you can afford, you enlisted a son which anyone who has gone through caring for someone with Alzheimer's wouldn't wish on their worst enemy. 3. You are creating a divide between brothers and cousins, ensuring that when you and your wife are gone each son will be alone. ESH. In my family, when additional folks to town, kids double up or sometimes get bumped. Not the same scenario. But when I visit my brother with my parents get the guest room and I bunk with my niece. Alternatively, when we go to the coast, my nephew the youngest gets bumped to the sofa. It's just short term. Not the asshole. Seems pretty straightforward to me. The guests have to make do, just like they would if they were sleeping in a hotel with a crappy bed or something. You just make do. I wish you well. No, you're not the R. Your son's the R for making a big deal. My advice: get a hotel room.